I think we can start now. Okay,
Yeah.
right. So, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. We, Shorodipda, me, and Avinash Bhaiya are here to help you with the CAT, and we have obviously cracked it. My seniors a couple of years before me, and me this particular year after 3 days. And we'll try to take you through the whole span of what it means to plan an attempt at the CAT, why you should take it, what opportunities it brings to you, and whatever else we can think of which will help you or assist you in your journey to hopefully one of the best B schools in the country. And first off, because before attempting an exam, you should know what you're going for and why you're going for it. First of all, I'd like to ask Shurdeepda to take hold and tell you a little bit about why MBA and what opportunities it has. After which, I'll take you through what can be done for the CAT.
Sure. Before that, I'd just like to give a brief intro about V3. Uh, so, my name is Suradeep Sarkar. I am a graduate of 2014 from HIT. After that, I worked for a couple of years at an IT firm and then joined MDI Gurgaon for pursuing my MBA. Right now, I've graduated, and if everything goes well, would be joining a global tech major. I also have with me Avinash Pandit. He is a 2016 graduate from HIT and a 2020 graduate from NITI, Mumbai. Uh, I have Soham with me. He, in fact, is a 99.98 percentiler in CAT 2019 and is the incoming IMC. IIM Calcutta would be graduating on 2022. So how we have planned this particular webinar, it should take 1.5 hours or so. How we have planned is to give a basic idea of what this MBA thing is all about when it comes to the Indian scenario, and what is it suitable for, and what do you need to get into a good MBA college or B school as we call it. Starting it off, I need to share my screen.
Sure. Are you able to share your screen here?
So Avinash, let me know when my screen is visible.
Sure. As of now, it's not.
Visible as of now.
Not visible yet. Okay, now it's visible.
Okay.
Now it's visible, yeah.
So here we are. All you wanted to know about CAT and MBA. Starting off, cool. There are some issues with this slideshow again. So what is MBA basically? MBA, as I or we like to call it, is a social science. It's not a science. It's not an arts. It's an amalgamation of science and arts, and has a creative tinge to it, has an analytical tinge to it. It's not just it's not entirely analytical like streams of mathematics and science that you have got a set formula, you apply the formula or you get the result. It's not a complete art, that is you cannot have things you cannot get things imagined at your own will. It has certain set of numbers and a topping of magic into it, uh, and that what does all the wonders. And finally, it's an understanding of how things, almost all the business you see work or could work. Who should be doing an MBA? Is my slide visible right now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's visible.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Who should do an MBA? If you are a guy who has interest in business in general, it could be any business. It could be a small kirana store. It could be a big how a big. It could be your curiosity about how a big business house runs. It could be anything. Corporate and leadership ambitions. If you have enough corporate and leadership ambitions, MBA is perhaps the thing for you. And if you are working and you are not quite happy with the sector you are working at, and you need to change that, often it's not possible with the degree you already have, and therefore people opt for MBA in order to change the sector they're working in. But more important than an MBA, if you want to develop a deep technical understanding of the research space, MBA is not the thing for you. Well, in MBA, you scratch the surfaces moderately deep of across many fields, unlike research, wherein you dig deep into one particular field. So, if you are engineers, if you have interest in technical research, MBA is not for you. Government job aspirants, well, you are unlikely to land into a government job. It would be unfeasible for you as well once you have completed your MBA. And MBA is, as a program, is very rigorous, and even after your MBA is done, once you join a particular organization, they would be paying you relatively higher, and they would be expecting some rigor out of you. So you would be having some stress in your career as well. So if you're willing to up, it is for you, else not. So what are the types of MBA we have in India? Very common. In fact, the most common is the 2-year MBA courses, which most of the freshers, as in people who do not have work experience, do take up. I'll come to something on MBA about work without work experience versus MBA with work experience as well on the later part of the video. For now, we have this 2-year course MBA, which is the most common format. We also have a 1-year course and executive format of MBA, which is generally preferred by people with over 5 years of work experience. The opportunity cost is less for them. However, having said that, the value of an executive MBA, pardon me, is also slightly lesser than that of a regular 2-year MBA. Moreover, many things are quite cramped down in a 1-year MBA as compared to a 2-year, and therefore things might get a little bit difficult for you to take up. Having said that, we do have 1-year MBAs in India. We have the Great Lakes Chennai program, which offers a 1-year program, 1-year course, and we have this famous ISB Indian School of Business, Hyderabad and Mohali. They have a 1-year course again. And then we have the part-time and correspondence MBAs again. But these are again for you if you just want to add a MBA tag after your name. Not that it would add much value to you. The ISB factor. ISB is one of the prestigious MBAs of India, which in fact is 1 year and not 2 years. You do not generally it does not admit people through CAT. It takes through GMAT, and therefore we would slightly keep it outside the purview of our current webinar. But having said that, it is quite a good program, and if you are interested in it, you may read about it later. The MBA scenario in India. Let me give you some not so good news over here. So I researched a bit and found out that as of today, there are 4,500 plus colleges in India with 200,000, that is 2 lakh plus students who would be graduating this year, or who graduated in 2017 actually. Of these 4,500 plus colleges, 13% give diploma courses. However, of people who graduated in 2017, only 7% were employable. That leaves you with 93% who are not up to the mark industry would like to have. And quite as a consequence, 47% of MBAs in 2016-17 were placed, as the ICT puts it up. That means 53% were unplaced. Still, is MBA a good kind of option? We'll see into it. 220 plus colleges, MBA colleges shut down in 2017, and this has been the trend ever since, in even in the next 3 or 4 years. I have put up some link wherein you can read more about these facts and figures. I'll be sharing the PPT with you later. But here is a screenshot from First Post, which is Blow to B schools. 93% of management graduates are unemployable. A couple of more posts from Economic Times and Hindustan Times. It says the same about the sorry state of MBA in India. And therefore, the point being, if you want to do an MBA, you should be doing it only from the top B schools. The top B schools of the MBA, the charm you hear about MBA is only present in the top 20 to 30 B schools, not beyond that. The moment you go beyond that, things change quite drastically. So drastically, perhaps the school ranked 35 all India might be struggling to place its students. So such is the scenario. But why MBA? Specifically, why MBA from top B schools? Jack of all trades may or may not be master of all, but MBA from top B school teaches you how to be jack of all trades, prepares you for situations what we are facing today, like COVID-19, something most people did not predict of. If right now, apart from the frontline health warriors, we would be having, you might be seeing the MBA guys are working at the back end in their respective companies to keep the businesses running and therefore to keep the economy rolling. Prepares you to take up anything. I can guarantee you, after you pass out of your B school, you would be much more confident than you are today. Enhances your soft skills, communication skills, interaction skills. It's a given. Leadership lessons. You do not just get theoretical knowledge in MBA. You get quite a lot of leadership lessons, and those are beyond and not within the classrooms. They are also beyond the classrooms as well. There are multiple methodologies through which you actually gain these leadership lessons. We do have some of them covered in the later part of this webinar. Many of us do dream of interacting with CEOs, getting the views firsthand and all. You perhaps would not believe CEOs, CMOs, CFOs, CROs do visit the top B schools regularly on a regular basis. There could be even a day when perhaps you have 2 to 3 CEOs or even more on your campus, and people would be running around to listen to them. And then companies look for a leadership pipeline, and therefore they come to the top B schools. The rigor you go through, it actually prepares you for scenarios which the companies might need their top future leaders to have in future. And therefore, most of the top companies have a specialized leadership program wherein they admit people from MBA, and they face an accelerated growth track in their career path. And finally, you meet people who add value to you and your life, often in more than one ways. You will meet friends, who perhaps going ahead can open up some good companies or be heading some great organizations across the world. And these people within B school and beyond B school always add value to your life. What are the companies that kind of come to B schools to hire? The Indian B schools I'm talking about. You have the defense sector, companies in the defense, aviation and high-tech sector. Companies like Airbus, Boeing, yes, they do come. Lockheed Martin, Tata Advanced Systems. We have the hardware, robotics and IoT sector like Honeywell or Rockwell Automation, Foxconn, Intel. The regular software companies, as well as product companies, e-commerce companies, Microsoft, Google, Amazons of the world. You have all sorts of automobile companies, BMWs, the foreign ones, the Indian ones, Maruti Suzuki, the auto component companies, Seat, etc. Financial services companies, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan and Chase, Avendus, Credit Suisse, etc. And then you have the media companies, India Today Group, Z Media, all sorts of media companies. You have the satellite services provider, the Tata Sky. You have the um, movie producers, Sony Pictures, Fox Pictures, etc. You have the energy sector coming in. You have the FMCG. In fact, FMCGs are a big recruiter across B schools. So I don't know how many of you currently at your undergraduate level might have heard of companies like Hindustan Unilever, P&G, Marie Korik, Kaiser, etc. But once this webinar is over, I would urge you to go back and look at the things, most of the packeted things in your kitchen, bathroom, or perhaps in front of your dressing table. You would see most of these would be manufactured by these 4 or 5 companies. We have the FMCG drink and beverage companies, PepsiCo, Coke on the soft drink part, AB InBev, UB, etc. on the hard drinks part side. You have the fast-moving consumer durable companies. You have the banks and insurance and the pharma companies, healthcare and hospitals. Hospitals like Apple Hospitals, etc. all have MBAs at their top level. Textiles and lifestyles, cements, powers, steel sector, the core sector, hospitality sector. If you wanted to go into hospitality sector, you might give it a shot in MBA. Even if you have not done home science or something, you have a good chance once you have done an MBA. Consulting again is a very lucrative sector. It has money, but it's quite exciting actually. The McKinsey, Bain's, BCGs of the world, and then there's the general management program, Tata Administrative Services, Reliance Industries, Hinduja Group, Aditya Birla Group. These are some of the top general management companies that come to top colleges, top MBA colleges of India. Miscellaneous companies again, which have recently come up: Netflix, Amazon, the solar and the wind energy companies, the renewables. We have the Suzlons, etc. So any sector you talk about requires an MBA. So I have the next part is the B school. I'd be talking about it, but before that, perhaps it would be right for Som to give you some insight about what it takes to get into these B schools.
Yeah, thank you, Shrodita. I think I'll share my screen. If you just stop sharing, then I'll be able to. Okay. Thank you. I believe this is what a lot of people have been waiting for. Just let me know if my screen is visible to you.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. Right. So this is how to crack the CAT, right? I've taken 3 attempts at the CAT. As you can see, my percentile is in front of you. It took me 3 times to get to the percentile I needed to crack a top B school. But I want to tell you why you should listen to me. So on the left, you can see my profile, and I'm sure because we all share an alma mater, you will see that this is nothing extraordinary. Most of you will have better marks than me if you're from the CBSE background, which will help you later on as I go on to explain. And I want you to listen to me because I've made these mistakes and I've learned from them so that you don't have to make them. And I'll try to finish this in a crisp manner and provide you lots of resources to back things up wherever needed. You'll receive them in an email later. One question which I saw in the questions which were asked in the form was, can I crack CAT with this much thing? Can I do it with a job? How easy is it? How tough is it? My English is weak. So my response to all of these things is, you tell me, right? If you have a job, can you make the time? If you have a bad profile, can you get the high enough marks elsewhere in the CAT? If you have weak English, can you do very well in the other 2 sections? You have to tell me, right? Because it's your attempt and you will decide. This is one of my favorite quotes, just inserted here for inspiration. If you don't believe you can do it, you have no chance at all. And this is just in continuation of what I said earlier. You have ways to do it. People have done it again and again. I'm going to show you how you can do it as well. Some of the myths which you hear about the CAT, I'd just like to bust a few of them first, so that you don't worry about the unnecessary stuff. Lots of people say you need 4 and 5 hours daily to be getting big marks, and it cannot be done alongside a job. For me, that's not true. Only NIT, IIT, BITS Pilani sort of people do it. Only SRCC people do it. That is also not true. Uh, and then, of course, my English or my math or my logical aptitude is weak, so I cannot crack the CAT. That's something I hear a lot. It is not true. These things can be developed, and there is a strategy behind it. There is a method to the madness, and I'm going to take you through some of what you can do. And once again, whatever I don't cover, there will be resources which I'll send to you afterwards, which I think you'll find useful. And most importantly, the idea that I want to share with you is that you don't have to do it in one go, right? A lot of us will be having some problems. If you do it in one go, that's great. If you do it, if you limp into a top B school like me on the third attempt, that's not a problem. Nobody cares once you're in. And work experience always helps. So that's that. Now, absolute basics, there are 3 sections that you need to be knowing about, and roughly 6 months is more than enough time. I think we have just about that much. If you discount this one, I think you have about 5, and that's enough time. And the conclusion that I want to draw from this very short fact is that you can do it, right? The CAT sections, jumping right into it. I know the demographic that I'm addressing. Your English is weak. Can it be improved? Yes, it can be improved. Does it need to be the best in the country? Like for me, I was in the top 10 in the country, probably top 2 or top 3 in my BRC section. That's why I have 100 percentile. But you don't need to be at that level. You need to cross the sectionals in this section and do better in the other 2 to compensate for this, right? So it's a boon for those who are good at it, but it's not a curse for those who are not good at it. And then moving on to the LRDI section, generally it's decent for engineers because you've been doing some logically hard work in 11 and 12 and then onwards in engineering as well. But this can be improved. Some very simple tips. If you want for LRDI, you can play chess or Sudoku or Kakuro, one of these games. Basically, the idea is to get used to rule-based logic and newer rule-based logic. So, for example, what the rules are in the sports that you play. If you encounter newer rules and your mind works to understand them and apply them elsewhere, then you'll be getting better at it. I'll come to LRDI later on, and I'll send you some material about it as well. You should know that your LRDI needs to be very good if your English is weak, because LRDI and BRC are one of the 2 sections which people falter at. You need to be good at this one, at least one of these 2. Okay. Now coming to the maths or the quant section, most of us are good at it. I mean, I've met people in my college who were brilliant at it, even my year. And of course, it's very high scoring for us engineers. It can be improved tremendously for those who have not scored very well. For example, I had a 91 percentile in my first CAT attempt, and I have a 99.78 in my final CAT attempt, which was last year. And the most time that people spend for preparation is usually located in this zone, but it's not necessarily always the case, as I'll come to later. Now, I want you to understand 2 key ideas that are most important about it. So when people talk about a syllabus, because we're used to talking about the syllabus of the exam, and many a times that becomes a problem because the CAT doesn't have a syllabus for the English and the LRDI sections. So the syllabus can only be defined in QA, right? But because of the fact that the other 2 don't have a syllabus, people tend to eliminate them because they say that there's nothing to study here. What can I study? That is not a good idea, and you should not be doing that. To my advice, will not be doing that. And the second thing is mocks. People have the wrong idea about mocks. Basically, it is not there for you to be scoring from the first mock as high as you will score in the CAT. It is for you to learn what your weaknesses are, work on them, and see if you're able to improve on them as time goes on, right? So you don't have to be a hot shot in the mock season right at the start. You can improve gradually. In my case, you can improve over 3 mock seasons. Not a problem, right? You just need to take it as something to develop your ability and check your progress. Now, coming to the quant section specifically, where there is a syllabus, I want to tell you what to cover from what sources and what to not do. Okay. So widely, the books and materials are things you all heard about: Arun Sharma or Sarvesh Verma for quant, which I'm sure everybody knows; Time, IMS, and CL study material; past year CAT papers, mock tests and sectional mock tests, and video resources, which also you may have heard of. Now, the big question here is, which is the one you should use, and how do you use these, and in what order, sort of, right? So I've made 2 timelines, and I'm showing you both. The first one is for somebody who's strong in QA, right? First thing you should do is, if you feel you're strong in QA, practice the past year CAT papers. We have 6 papers now, both morning and evening slots of the past 3 CATs. Practice them, find the sort of sums you're weak in, find your weak chapters, then move on to strengthening your weaker chapters by covering their syllabus only, and revise your strong chapters by doing some practice or looking at some material if you want, or if you have some notes from someone, you can try that out. After you've brought both of these to a significant level, you should try out different strategies in mocks and keep finding weaknesses. This is crucial. In every mock, if you find out one weakness and in the next 1 week work on it, and in the next mock improve on it, if you repeat this system every single mock, I can guarantee you in 6 months you will see stratospheric growth, right? And finally, the fourth step is you just need to cycle between 2 and 3. So it's not that this is a monolithic process. This is not a one-shot panacea. ऐसा नहीं है कि जड़ी बूटी दे दी और करते रहो. You have to innovate your process. You have to keep finding your weaker and stronger chapters, because they will alternate as you cover less syllabus. On 1 month, maybe you left out geometry completely. Another month, you've left out algebra. You completely forget it, right? So you should come back to these, revise, find weaknesses, and turn the cycle back again till your D-Day, till you find a perfect strategy for yourself and just hold on to it in the end. Now, for somebody who is weak in QA, right, because many of us are like me, and you should start covering the syllabus from scratch and prepare notes for each chapter to refer to later, right? So there are lots of resources, as I pointed out earlier. There is Taxila on YouTube, which I used. There is, which I highly recommend, by the way, Taxila on YouTube. And there is also CrackU and CL and IMS and all these people. Many of them are video courses. There's something called Elites Grid. So you can make your choice of those. All of these, I think, they'll give you enough to cover the syllabus from scratch. The main and most important thing is you have to do the hard work yourself, right? So after they've given you the syllabus completion, or while you're completing the syllabus, you should endeavor to work on it yourself, practice problems, find weaknesses, continuously cover the gaps that your preparation is leaving. After you cross this stage, yeah, sorry.
I'll just interrupt you once. I would also suggest you please be putting up those links of Takshashila and other resources you were talking about in the chat, or maybe we can later send them as an email package.
Yeah, I was planning on sending it later as an email package. I have prepared a document for it. Thanks, Shodhvita. Right. So, sorry guys, if you thought I wasn't sending it to you, I will be sending it to you, not to worry. So the next step is solve the materials or books that you have and try out past year papers. Now, people get lost in solving material. They'll solve CL, IMS, time. They'll solve everything adha adhura. So there's a big problem there. You can't solve everything half. Take one thing, stick to it, follow it through completely. You don't need to follow 10 things, but follow 1 or 2 things completely. If you're solving Arun Sharma, solve each and every question. LOD1, LOD2, LOD3, doesn't matter. Solve each and every question, right? Till you can't solve them, probably move to the other chapter. Say you're strong enough in one to solve LOD2, complete your syllabus, then come back and try to solve LOD3, which is what the book itself says, right? If you're doing CL and IMS material, same thing. Solve everything. If something is too tough, go on, first complete everything else and then come back, right? And at this stage, you should only take mocks to find out your weaknesses. This is crucial to you, as I said, because there'll be more weaknesses which you'll find out. As and when you see these weaknesses, keep revisiting your syllabus and try to attempt more in mocks gradually by increasing your syllabus coverage. So as you cover more and more syllabus, you'll be able to add more and more things to your strength column and take them away from your weaknesses column, right? The step 4 would be to perform, but actually for people who are weak in QA, you'll have to keep covering syllabus. You'll have to keep going through step 1, 2, and 3 in a sort of a cycle. And that is what you should be doing right up till the D-Day. About till 1 week before the D-Day, you need to keep doing this. And this is how you'll go ahead, right? Now, how to go about the things that don't have a syllabus. And so for that, for LRDI specifically, there are a couple of things which you can do, which will make things easier for you. So the most basic skills are for DI to be calculating percentages, ratios, averages, And for LR, it would be basically making and canceling out possibilities from a set of logical rules. If you ever played Sudoku, you will find out that this is the exact ability that helps you out, and that is something that you'll use often in LR, right? The next thing you can do to improve is you practice calculation. Just try out, randomly in your day, spend 1 or 2 minutes trying to remember multiples or just practicing addition, squares, cubes. This is also helpful for QA, and this might sound a little childish, but it is helpful and it will help you be faster and it'll aid your prep in both places. As I said earlier, you can also try playing Sudoku, Kakuro, Hitori, or chess. All of these games basically test your mind's ability to create and cancel out possibilities. And after you've done this, after you've gotten to a certain level, you should start practicing from past year CAT LRDI sets, and also from the mocks that you give. One thing is to maintain a database. I won't go too much into detail on this because there will be some supplementary material in the form of a blog which I'll send you, which will explain this thoroughly. Okay. The idea is to judge each set that you attempt and find out where you're strong and where you're weak so that you can attempt the easier ones before and you can attempt the tough ones later or not attempt them at all. Because believe me, in LRDI, the idea is just to solve 3, 4, maybe 5 sets if you're very good. You don't need to go too much above that. You don't have to answer every question. You can leave whole 3 sets and you'll still get a 99.5 plus. So I solved 4.5 sets, 4 sets and one question, and I got a 99.35. If you get that, it's good enough, right? And again, maintain a database of the sets you've practiced. We'll come to this in the material. Uh, and for VARC, there's basically no other way that I know of other than reading. So I will be sending you a list of books that I recommend that you should read. I will outline in the blog that I send you how you should read these things, and there will be some structure to the preparation. After that, you can go to your practice from mocks and so on, right? Finally, I want to give you an idea of what scores in the mocks you should be achieving to be okay in the CAT and looking at things that you have a good chance. So here are my own mock scores and what CAT scores I got and the corresponding percentile. As you can see, in CAT 2017, I got 155 in the CAT, which translated to a 97.56 percentile. And in CAT 2018, I got about a 154, which translated to 98.96 percentile. Both of those are very close, but you can see one which was 1 mark lesser gave me a much better percentile simply because the paper was tougher. And you can see that in the mocks, I scored significantly lesser in the CAT because usually mocks are a little more difficult. And that same idea continues throughout, even to the CAT 2019 stage, where I had about 165 odd or 175 average in between that. And I ended up scoring 220 in the CAT, which led to a 99.98 percentile. So you can start from here in the mocks, even if you're scoring just a 90 or just 100. Just look at it in terms of questions. Don't look at it in terms of marks. Just look at it as 20 odd questions you can add, because from 154 to 220 is just about 20 odd questions, 20, 22 questions, right? So I hope this was helpful and educational. I hope I didn't bore you a lot, and I am going to hand over people. If you have any questions, you can ask me at the end. Avinash Bhaiya or Shrodipda, you'd like to take over at this point?
I think it's Aditya's turn to take up the B schools.
Yes, I'd be
Okay.
taking it up.
Yeah.
So I've started sharing my screens again.
It's visible now.
Okay, good. So Soham talked about CAT. CAT is perhaps the main. CAT is one of the main exams that you need to qualify for most of the B schools that I'd be talking about in the next couple of slides. So as I said, you should be targeting only for the top 20 to 30 B schools and not beyond that in any case, with all due respect. Here are a few B schools you should be targeting for. I've listed the down. You can note it if you want. I'll be sharing the 50 later as well. And these are listed in no particular order, in no order of ranking. These are just randomly listed as of now. IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Bangalore, IIM Calcutta, XLRI Jamshedpur, MDI Gurgaon, IIM Lucknow, IIM Kozhikode, IIM Indore, IIM Shillong, NITI Mumbai, SJM SOM, Shailesh J. Mehta School of Management, IIT Bombay. It's the management department of IIT Bombay. Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, Delhi, IFT, the Delhi part, not the Calcutta one. SPJIMR, SPJN Institute of Management and Research. Please to note that there is a separate SPJN as well, SPJN Global School. Here I am talking about the SPJN Institute of Management and Research, Mumbai. IMS Delhi, it falls under Delhi University actually. ISB Hyderabad, a separate GMAT exam for this. And lately there's a new course which is being jointly offered by IIM Calcutta, ISI Kolkata, and IIT Kharagpur. It is called PGDBA, Postgraduate Diploma in Business Analytics. It is again something. It's a course that is doing reasonably well. In fact, quite well right now, and it focuses on business analytics primarily. And then we have Tata Institute of Social Science, the Mumbai campus. These are the B schools you should be ideally targeting for. Up next is the B school you can settle down for. These are IMT Ghaziabad, IMI New Delhi, Symbiosis Institute of Business Management Pune, GIM Goa, Goa Institute of Management Goa, SCM HRD, which is HR specific business school under Symbiosis, XIBM Bhubaneswar, which is Xavier's Institute of Business Management Bhubaneswar, VGSOM, Vinod Gupta School of Management, falls under IIT Kharagpur. The new IIMs, we have 6 new IIMs. So basically, we have some, I guess, 20 IIMs. 7 of them are old, 6 of them are new, and the rest are baby IIMs. So that's how they are categorized: the old IIMs, the new IIMs, and the baby IIMs. So the 6 new IIMs are again the schools you may settle down for, which are Ranchi, Rohtak, Raipur, Kashipur, Udaipur, and Trichy. You have the IFT Calcutta campus, ISB Mohali campus, NMIMS, Narsi Monji Institute of Management Studies, Mumbai, MICA Ahmedabad, which is Mudra Institute of Communications and Arts, I'm not sure, Ahmedabad. So basically MICA should be your go-to school and should be your number one choice if you want to venture into advertisement space and creative space. So MICA, as they themselves call themselves, the School of Creativity and Art. And then finally we have the baby IIMs, which at the moment are struggling in spite of being in the top 30 or so. So now the big question, most of these schools are not going to actually offer you MBA. This might come to surprise to many of the newbies here, but these are not going to offer you MBA degree. These are going to provide you a diploma, PGDM, Postgraduate Diploma in Management, and the program is often known as Postgraduate Program in Management. Are there any difference? Well, as I said, 87% of India's schools, and most of those 87% of India's schools are beyond top 30. They provide MBA, and the top schools do not provide MBA. They provide a diploma. At the face of it, there is no difference in value between MBA or diploma, as a degree or diploma in this case. In fact, the trend has been such that PGDMs are valued more than MBA in India. But lately, there has been some amendment in the IIM Act, and this amendment has empowered the IIMs, the top IIMs, to offer degree instead of diploma. But do not get worried with this diploma versus degree thing. You or your career is not going to be affected. These diplomas are well acknowledged globally, I would say, the diplomas from top B schools. But what is the entry procedure to these top B schools? It's a 6-step process primarily. The very first, you give the entrance exam. It could be CAT, it could be XAT, and Matt, we'll talk about it later again. Once you qualify for the entrance exam, you get a call from respective composite score would comprise of your exam score
कुछ नहीं मेरे को लगा बंद हो गया गलती से बंद हो
have
गया
certain weightage. Apart from that, there different from for different B schools to your class 10th marks work experience, that is month of your work experience.
Hi, Shrodit.
If you
Just
are
sorry to interrupt.
yes,
Sorry to interrupt, Shrodit. Your internet connection, I think, is a little weak or it's fluctuating. Your voice got cut a lot in the middle. I don't think they got what you were saying. So, okay. Did we lose him?
I don't know yet.
Yeah. Just okay. He's back. Yeah.
I lost you soon.
Yeah. Your internet connection was weak. I'm not sure they heard you properly. So you just repeat the part about what the composite score can include.
Okay, sure. I've started sharing my screen again.
It's visible.
Okay. So after your exam is done, after you're through your exam, you might be receiving calls from different B schools based on a composite score. Now, what this composite score would comprise of? A majority of the weightage in the composite score would be given to your entrance exam marks or rank, to be more specific, the percentile. The remaining part, the weightage for the remaining parts would be given to your class 10th marks, class 12th marks, your undergraduation marks, your work experience, the number of months of work experience you have while as of the date you filled the CAT form. It could be 0 for some, it could be 24 for some, it could be 48 for some in months. There's a weightage for that. Again, please do note that the optimal weightage lies somewhere between perhaps 18 to 24 months. So the weightage increases from 0 to 24, and thereafter it keeps on decreasing till 48 and becomes 0 after 48, or perhaps for some colleges after 60 months. So there's a weightage for your work experience, and there's a weightage for the fact how much you contribute to the diversity factor of the college. Since you know most of the students appearing for CAT are male, general, and engineer. So we have a term for that. It's called GEM candidates, general, engineer, and male, GEM. If you are not male, if you are not engineer, you might be getting some grace marks depending on the college, the criteria of the college. Diversity factor of the college. Since you know most of the right. Thereafter, once you receive a call based on the composite score, you would be invited by the college for a group interview and or a written ability test. Some colleges do have this written ability test, WAT as we call it, WAT. Some may not have it, but you would be invited on a specific date and a specific location along with other candidates, where you would be subjected to a group discussion and a written ability test, and the panelists, who would comprise primarily of eminent faculty from that particular college, as well as perhaps alums from that college, would judge you and score you. On the same day, you would be facing a personal interview from the panel, and you would be judged again on the basis of your personal interview. After all the personnel interviews and all the group discussions, that the colleges had to hold is done, a composite score again would be created. Now, this part, a majority part of this would comprise of your PI score, that is personal interview score, group discussion score, and VAT score. And some part of it would again have weightage to your CAT or exam score, as well as 10th, 12th undergraduate marks and your work experience. And once this composite score is created, based on it, the college would be preparing a merit list. And depending on the number of seats the college has, you may or may not make it to the final admit of the college. So this is the procedure of getting into B school in a single page, if I had to sum it up. Coming to the exams, what are the exams basically you need to be appearing for in order to get into most of the schools I talked about? So for all the IIMs, old, new, and the baby IIMs, as well as for MDI Gurgaon, NITI Mumbai, FMS, IIT Bombay, that is SJM SOM IIT Bombay, VG SOM IIT Kharagpur, IMI New Delhi, and GIM Goa, you need to have a CAT score. Now, this CAT, the notification for CAT is generally out in November, in July, and the exam date is generally in the last Sunday of November. The price, you have to pay a price for buying this CAT form. It's around 2,000 rupees. Apart from this, there are two schools. So there are two schools which of this list which accept ZAT, that is Xavier's Admission Test Code. Those are XLRI Jamshedpur and XIM Bhubaneswar. The notification for these ZAT is out in August, and the exam is generally in January. Form price is again somewhere around 1,700 rupees. Now, interestingly, two schools, that is SPJIMR Mumbai and IMT Ghaziabad, take admits through both CAT and SAT. So even if you have ruined your CAT, if your SAT score is quite good, you have a shot in these two schools. For TIS, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, there's a separate exam altogether. It's called TISNET. The notification is out in October. The exam is January next year, and the price of form is 1,000 rupees. For the symbiosis colleges, that is SIBM Pune, SCM HRD, as well as some other symbiosis colleges. There are many actually. The entrance exam you have to appear for is SNAP. The notification date is out on August. Exam date is in December, after CAT, immediate, I guess in a week or two after CAT. Price of form is 1,800 rupees. For IFT Delhi campus and Kolkata campus, Indian Institute of Foreign Technology, the exam is IFT. Notification date is August. Exam is in December. Price of the form is 2,000 rupees. NMIMS Mumbai, it's again an exam which many people appear for. It's NMAT. So the exam is conducted by the same agency as that of GMAT. It's an NMAT exam. You can appear thrice in a year. The notification is out in July, and exam dates between October and December, and you can appear thrice in this period. Each time you will have to buy the new form, and you will have to fill the form of the colleges separately for this. So if you appear for 3 times, it is going to cost you around 10,000 rupees or so. For MICA Ahmedabad, they admit through ZAT, and they also have their own exam called MICAT 1 and 2. Again, the exam is held in December-January period. The price of form of MICAT is 2,000 rupees. JBIMS. So this is an interesting college actually. JBIMS, Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies, is a college in Mumbai. Majority of the seats of this particular college is actually reserved for candidates from Maharashtra. However, they have some 10% or so people, seats open for candidates from rest of India. However, yet there is a huge competition to get into this particular college, primarily for 2 reasons. It's a very old college and has huge lot of alumni, and many of them, incidentally, are CEOs in many Indian organizations. And therefore, this college is often known as the CEO factory. This does not mean that the other colleges do not have CEOs. There are many other CEOs. In fact, Perhaps there are more CEOs than JBIMS in some other colleges as well. But in in the B school circle, this particular college has been named as the CEO factory. You can get into it through CAT or MHCET, Maharashtra CET. The former price of Maharashtra CET is 1,000 rupees. Okay, the second reason many people try to get into this particular college is that while an IIM would cost you around 20 lakh rupees, this getting into, I mean, the 2-year fees for this particular college is, I guess, somewhere around 1.5 lakh rupees. So you see the difference, right? And finally, we have the PGDBA course which is offered jointly by IIM Calcutta, ISI Kolkata, and IIT Kharagpur. Exam date is in December, and 2,000 rupees is the form price. Suppose you score good in CAD, SAT, and all other exams, you have prepared really well. You have also applied, or you might be thinking of applying to certain schools based on the B school form. So again, there are different forms for most of these B schools, except for IIMs. For IIMs, the form is common as that of CAT forms. For almost all other B schools, there is a separate form. Which are the forms to fill, or if you have filled and if you have received a call and if you have received an admit, which are the schools you should be considering in your top 2 or 3 list? So there are many factors for this, and again, these are not written anywhere. These are something we ourselves considered while we were in the situation. Number one, ranking. There are many rankings available, and the ranking generally is a reflection of the outlook, the societal outlook of the college, apart from many other things. And therefore, rankings do comprise an important part in your decision-making process. Then there are average and median salary. Each of these colleges have 100% placements, and they have all of them boast about huge average and median salaries. These are often the things you might be wanting to look into while making a decision. Return on investment based on your opportunity cost, your affordability, etc. There is something called ROI, which you look into while selecting a B school. However, personally, I feel ROI should not be looked into while finalizing a B school, effectively because it is a very short-sighted methodology. You perhaps would not like to regret your decision just because you wanted to save some couple of lakhs of rupees 20 years ago. So 20 years down the line, you should not be regretting your situation of getting into one college and not into the other. Location based on metro and non-metro. Again, this was an important factor in my consideration. The reason people generally choose metro colleges over non-metro locations, not because of the facilities like cinema halls, malls, etc., but because of the factor that most of the corporates are located in metro cities in India, and therefore they are more willing to come to a college which is in their city than in a college which is far away from the city, because in placements often the interviews are taken by CXOs or top leadership of certain companies, and they might not want to waste a single day coming to a remote location through flight and getting back. And therefore, this is the reason some of the colleges in the metro location has been thriving in spite of being relatively new. Faculty and alumni strength is something self-explanatory and you should be looking about. And then finally, there is specialization. So if you have a specialization in mind that, okay, I want to specialize in operations and I would not be looking into anything else, then you should be keeping certain colleges in mind. I'll be talking about it again very soon. So this is a chart. I don't know if it's visible. So can you guide me if it's visible? Or
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is very.
Okay, so this is a chart that we prepared to help you guide with your decision process. This more or less lists down all the B schools we talked about till now, and along with their average salary, the median salary. And I have assigned a heat map to it, so for your visual convenience. Now, most people look into the average salary while considering the college and ignore the median salary. However, average salary could be very skewed. For example, if 10 people from a particular college gets a salary of 50 lakh rupees and the rest of the people get, something around 10 or 15 lakh rupees of CTC, the average salary can still be somewhere around, say, 25 or so. And therefore, this is a very skewed methodology, often boosted by college. A more practical approach is to look into the median salary. You are engineers, you might be knowing what median is. Uh, you look, a median salary is the salary the 50th percent students has got. So, for example, if there are 360 students, the salary of the 180th students, after all the students have been arranged in descending order of their salary, is something this median salary talks about. So, for example, if I'm talking about I'm Ahmedabad, so 50% of the, say for there are 400 students in Ahmedabad, so I can say that 50% of the students have scored more than have bagged more than 24 lakhs of CTC in their final placements, and 50% students have bagged a salary of less than 24 lakhs of CTC in the final placements. Next up, we have the location. I have marked them on the basis of metro, non-metro, etc., as well as on the basis of
Here we are losing you. We're not able to hear you.
I think he's lost the connection. Avinash, can you just continue from where he left off? Maybe he'll come back.
Yeah, but the thing is, he has the presentation. I cannot like move it further. But anyways, not
Okay.
wasting the time. Whatever is visible for now, I can tell you that we have divided the location of these colleges as metro or non-metro, because a lot of colleges which are located in metro are very well doing very well even after some time. And I'm sorry, we lost the feed as well. Som, can you just ping Bhaiya till then I can take up other things. So, guys, talking about metro and non-metro, post that, we also should be looking at their alumni strength, which comes from the fact that how old the college is. For example, a college like Jamnalal Bajaj or Niti Mumbai or IIM Ahmedabad, these are pretty old colleges, and they have a huge alumni strength because of being very old. Whereas colleges which are doing preferably good, such as probably the new IIMs or things like these. They are relatively new. They're doing well. You might see their average packages are great and median packages are great and location is good, but the alumni strength is not that good. So this might affect going 5 years, 10 years down the line. But as of now, while selecting your MBA college for now, it shouldn't be that big of an issue if you're getting good placements for now. But as we all know, the COVID situation has changed things, and it has changed things in the MBA circle as well. So let's see how all this having the alumni, having the location factor comes into picture. Is Bhaiya available? Can you bring him?
I think he's lost net connectivity completely because the message hasn't been delivered to him.
Okay. I okay then.
You
Sure.
share the PPT and continue from where you were supposed to.
So I can share. The only issue is it won't be coming up in the feed.
Right. I can share it for you then because I had it downloaded.
Okay, wait, no. I can do that. I can do that. It will come in the feed, not an issue.
Okay.
Just a second. I'm sorry, guys. This Sarkar has.
Just in the meantime, while he's doing that, as I said, we saw some questions which people had thrown. I'll just answer them while this is being set up.
Sure.
So Shubham asks, what kind of job experience matters in the CAT? Shubham, everything matters. Any job experience that you have, which is an actual job, like a proper company, which will give you a work ex certificate and will give you a salary. If you're getting a salary, even say if you're working as a quality tester or you're working in an industry directly, that can also count as long as you have the work ex certificate and the salary slip to prove it. Okay. And there was something else about counting industrial. Yeah, industrial job experience is counted. And the other question that I see about interview questions, we'll get to that towards the end. I can't pronounce the name, but I'll let Avinash carry on.
Okay. So carrying on the things. If you see here, the third last column is fees, and when we check for fees with respect to the median or average salary, we get something called as return on investment, as in how much fees you paid for getting what kind of average or median salary. So if you see here, there's a ratio. The best ones for now are FMS. If you see, that is whatever fee you pay, you get more than thrice of it with respect to 2 years, after 2 years. And then there's something called as TIS and JBIMS. These three are the ones in which you get the best amount for your bucks from whatever you pay. Post that, you can look at other colleges as well. But currently, one of the cheapest MBAs in the top rung are FMS, TES Mumbai, JBIMS. These three are the ones. And I took up the alumni part earlier, so I'll just go to the next slide. Now, finalizing based on specialization.
Avinash, I'm back.
Yeah. So you wanna continue with the same slide, or are you there to?
Yeah. Just wanted to. Yeah. Just wanted to.
Sure. You're free to share, Bhuya.
Okay, sure. I just wanted to share one more thing. Is my screen visible right now?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. Avinash talked about ROI. Wanted to add one thing about ROI, that is, it's a very poor decision to make, because if you are to go by the ROI, you might completely ignore colleges like IIM Ahmedabad or Bangalore, or for the matter of fact, IIM Kozhikode, Indore, MDI, etc. Because you see their ROI is less than 0, less than 1. But having said that, you might be your salary is something that keeps on increasing over the year through increments and all, and over the years you might be ending up earning more than what you do generally in, say, some of the colleges with better ROI in the long run. And to add to that, there are societal outlook for the colleges too. Not that JBIMS is a bad college; it's a one tremendously good college. FMS is a tremendously good college, but people also, IIM is perhaps better known, and it's the truth actually. Most of you might not have heard the name of MDI. People might have heard the name of IIMs. So these are the few things I wanted to talk about. ROI, alumni network, Avinash talked about. So here are a few strong, weak, and moderate alumni colleges with strong, weak, and moderate alumni network. And then we have, so if you want to finalize a school based on specialization, and you want to choose operations, then I know a person, actually Avinash might also be knowing. The person left IIM Calcutta and opted for NITI, just because he wanted to pursue operations. He loved operations. So the colleges to go to for operations are SJM, SOM, and NITI. Avinash would be talking about it later in details. For HR, human resources, again, a very, very important field in MBA. XLRI, MDI Gurgaon, and TIS. These are the three colleges you might be looking into, followed by SCM, HRD, and IIM Ranchi maybe. For creative communications, there's nothing like Mica. I mean, they are the most creative bunch of guys out there, and most of them are into advertisement, creative agencies, as we call it. Sustainability management, Lucknow is the clear winner over here. It's a relatively new program, but having said that, many consulting companies have shown interest in hiring graduates from the sustainability management program, and there are increasing number of companies which have chief sustainability officer these days, given the pressure from government and pressure from the society to resort to sustainable business practices. And then there is the agro business management, which Avinash would again talk about, and the data analytics, the joint program PGDBA. Finalizing a B school, factors you should not be considering. Number one, the NIRF rankings. I guess a couple of years ago, government came up with something called NIRF rankings, National Institutional Ranking Framework, and wherein the Ministry of Human Resource Development wanted to rank on all the colleges across India based on certain parameters. I won't say that the rankings are not correct, but this is a ranking that a B school aspirant should not be resorting to, because the ranking takes into consideration many factors like how much research is being done in the school, etc., which is of no use to a normal B school aspirant looking to pursue an MBA. The IIM tag, if you have got a college, say FMS, and still you choose a baby IIM just because of the IIM tag, uh, you might not be making the right decision, my friend. And therefore, do not run after the IIM tag. Just as I said, it's true that IIMs are more recognized in the society, but when it comes to the circle that you would be working on, the circle that would be appraising you in your organization, etc., they are all aware of the top B schools. They know colleges like FMS, SPJMR, NITI, MBA, etc. It's not that, and they are well educated with this MBA colleges in India. And finally, do not trust those rankings. Which place campuses that are 600 acres big, or campuses where the world begins, or campuses which dare you to think beyond IIMs, above the IIM ABC. So you see the campus as ranked as 1 and IIM Calcutta as 7. You should not be trusting those, you know, uh, rankings, and use your judgment. There's a screenshot of the NIRF ranking. I just want to have you look at the rank number 6, IIT Kharagpur. For most of us B schoolers, the VG SOM IIT Kharagpur would come much below this particular rank in any ranking. Perhaps in say number 20 or 21 or so. It has been ranked 6 in NIRF. So again, an example of the anomaly that you might be facing if you go through this particular ranking. Not that IIT Kharagpur is a bad school, but again, perhaps when it comes to research, etc., it's better than most other schools, and therefore the joint weightage uh, it gets is much higher. Avinash, over to you for the financing part. Would you like to share?
Yeah, so yeah, I'll share the screen myself.
Okay.
Okay, so taking up the next part, that is how to finance your MBA. We all know that the cost of doing these MBAs are pretty high, and a lot of students have been worried by the cost of it and how would we finance and what kind of loans would be available, or how to deal with these things. So to get that, let's see a top level view for the fees that we have. For beyond 20 lakhs, the college which have fees beyond 20 lakhs are IIM ABC, ISB, and XLRI. Although one thing I'd like to repeat after Saudi Bhaiya, that is, even though their fees are quite huge, it doesn't matter. They are the best B schools in India, and if you are getting an admission over there, just close your eyes and get an admission there. There's nothing that can stop you, and your life should be transformed after 2 years for the rest of 40 years that you're gonna live. Talking about the 15 to 20 lakhs bracket, we have AM, LK, and I. So if money is a factor, then the best colleges would be IIM, LK, and I. And post that, the next in line should be MDI, Gurgaon, SP Jain, and the other ones that are mentioned here. And the last rung in which the prices are about 15 20 lakhs is IMT Ghaziabad and Mica. Similarly, is the case with 10 to 15 lakhs. These are the colleges which don't cost that much but give you good enough ROI. But as again, ROI shouldn't be that big of a factor for you. I'll talk about that why it should not be that big of a factor. And as we mentioned earlier, FMS, JBMS, and TIS Mumbai are the three top level colleges which provide you MBA in very less fees. So for example, FMS takes just 20,000 rupees for 2 years. JBMS is 1.5, 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs, something like that for 2 years. Whereas both these colleges provide you average package of more than 20 lakhs per annum uh, post your MBA. So uh, it's a huge return over investment if you see in that way. But the issue with these two colleges are that these two colleges don't have their hostel. FMS has a very small hostel which can only accommodate probably the boys of first year, something like that. We're not sure. But JBIMS doesn't have a hostel. Similarly, Narsi Munji NMIMS also doesn't have their own hostel. So if you are in Narsi Munji, JBIMS, FMS, you might have to take up your own hostel, and uh, uh, that uh, that would incur extra money for you apart from the fees. Whereas for every other B school, the fees includes the hostel charges. Now, taking about the financing part, how to finance these things. So, first of all, there are special loans available at almost all the major banks of India. Why I'm calling them special? Because they have very different from the normal education loans. For example, normal education loans don't give you 100% financing. They only cover your fees or a part of it, and only a specific thing. Whereas these particular loans includes everything. For example, say you are going to and say Soham is going to Calcutta, the fees is about 24 lakhs, and a laptop probably would cost him 50,000, and the lodging and fooding for 2 years would cost him say 2 lakhs, and his own petty expenses would be around 1.5 lakhs. So in total it goes to around 27, 28, 29 lakhs. Not an issue. Everything can be included in the same loan as well. And every bank has this special loan. This is not a normal education loan. You have to ask for it. It's just not you cannot just go and ask for education loan. They are special. They are different, and you have to ask for it differently. Second good thing about these loans are there are no collateral. So it doesn't matter if you have that big of a property to put it as a collateral. It doesn't matter if especially if you are from IM, if you are going to IM ABC, Excel, RAI, ISB, and these top run colleges, nobody asks for collateral because they all know after you get out of these colleges, you're gonna be you're gonna be getting so much that it's not that big of a risk for the banks to give you to loan you out the money. Second, the third biggest thing about these loans are the interest rates. So in normal education loans, there's a cap at 7.5 lakhs. After 7.5 lakhs, you need to give a collateral, whereas in these special loans, you don't need any collateral, or even if it's there, there's very small amount of collateral that's required. Secondly, the interest rate in normal education loans is about 10 to 12%, whereas in these special loans, it's about 7.5 to 9.5%. So about 2.5, 3% lesser as compared to normal. So about 30 to 40% lesser interest rate is charged here. And as per the COVID situation that we are facing, we are expecting more reduction in the special loans interest rates. Second, the best thing about these special loans is the repayment starts after 6 months of passing out. So, for example, me and Saudida has passed out in March. So, our loan repayment would start probably in September or October or something like that. So, till then, if we are starting our jobs, we can enjoy for some time or just take up some savings and then start repayment. For example, a lot of my friends have got delayed joining because of the COVID situation. People in people of some companies are getting joining by September or October, but that's not an issue. Their loans are still okay, and they are required to start repaying the loans in September or October as well. So that's not going to be a big issue. Second thing, which is a very big deal for me, is the corporate case or B school case competition. So in B school, you majorly talk about and read about the business cases and the current businesses that are facing issues. They come up with a competition to put up their live problem, their current problem that they are right now facing, and put it out in the form of a B school competition. And they offer you a huge prize money for that. So these competitions keep happening all year round. It includes some of the biggest names such as HUL Lime, which gives you the first prize in the form of 5 lakh rupees, and City Leader Awards, like about 10 lakh is the first prize, along with PPIs, that is pre-placement interviews, that is just an interview and then you might be getting an offer, and PPUs, that is direct offers, directly placement or internship offers directly. So I got in Flipkart through one of these case study competitions by Flipkart. So yeah, that was a major deal for me because I got a PPI and then I cleared the PPI to get the offer. So I don't have to sit for the final placement. I was having a joining of even before placement. So this kind of prize money, say 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, some have usually on the lower side of 2 lakhs, but some have very huge prize money as well. So this kind of money can take a small part of your fees and be paid, whereas your internship, that is your summer placement that happens around September, will give you about 1 to 3 lakhs for 2 months. I'm talking about the average in the tier 1 colleges. So this also would give you a bit of cushion for the second year for your petty expenses or wherever you want to go for your mazak, masti and everything else, your normal expenses. So this is how you're gonna be helping yourself to get a MBA done along with dealing with your own expenses without being a burden either on your parents or on your own savings. Now taking up the next slide, it's which are the major B school competitions. For the students of HIT, I would like to tell you about this website called Dare to Compete. It's a website in which all most of these B schools competitions are held, but also a lot of other engineering college competitions are held, from which you can get a PPI or PPO as well, along with some prize money. So these are the top B school competitions. As I said, the first one is HUL Lime. This is Hindustan Unilever Lime. Pays around 5 lakhs. Similar is for Reliance DUP, pays around similar 5 lakh or something. And all these, and a lot of my friends have got placed through HUL Lime from ICICI, from Amazon, from Godrej, Loud. A lot of my friends have got placed through these competitions as well, without even sitting for the final placement. Now talking about the specialization in the B school domain, the first and the most common is marketing. The profiles that are offered for a person who is majoring in marketing are branding and brand management. So for example, if you see the logos here down below, so this Cornetto and Surf Excel, Brew, Nor, all these are brands. These are not companies. And a person, one of my friend who is going to HUL, and he would be dealing with the branding of four of these brands altogether, because all these brands that are visible below are of the same company, Hindustan Unilever. All these brands are of the same company, just brand. So that is why branding is important, to put your product through in the right way to the right people on the right price through the right channel. Second is category management. This is a new profile that is mostly offered to the e-commerce people, for example, Flipkart, Amazon, Nykaa, and companies like that. Product and portfolio management, and marketing, sales and analysis, and sales, marketing research and analysis. Now, the people who want to get into marketing should be focusing majorly on IM A, B, C, and L, MDI, SPGen, and FMS. And the people who want to look into the advertising. So let me tell you this: marketing is not advertising. Marketing is a lot more than advertising. Marketing is just one part of advertising. Advertising is just one part of marketing, whereas there are multiple other parts. So for advertising, if you want to go, Mica is your call. Now getting to the next one, it's finance. So you must have heard recent news about Jio raising a lot of money in recent 2 weeks. So all these things have been done by some finance guys in Jio, as well as in the investment banking firm that they have hired. So the profiles offered for a finance major are investment banking, corporate banking, asset management, relationship manager. So relationship manager and credit risk management are the two major profiles provided by the bank. For example, HDFC, ICICI, Yes Bank, Axis Bank. These people usually go for relationship manager and credit risk management profiles. So for someone who wants to major in finance, should be looking for IIM Calcutta, is the best college in India for if you want to get into finance. Then IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Indore. JBIMS is very famous for finance, as well as SPGen and IFT. Now talking about the next one, operations. This is where I come into picture. I come from NITI, which is called the Mecca of supply chain, because it's very good. People usually take it up for if they are very interested in operations. So kind of profiles that are offered are supply chain management, operations manager, demand and supply forecasting for any product, whatever you said, vendor management and things like these. Now the last part, usually this profile is very dreaded, and a lot of memes you might have heard, but actually it deals with a lot of critical factors for a business. For example, compensation and recruitment. Uh, Compensation and recruitment are the two major ones when it comes to HR. And for people who want to major in HR, they should know that one thing required for this is a lot of psychology, the understanding of psychology, how psychology works and how human thinks. So for the if you are thinking about majoring in HR, then look out for Accelerize HR program. So that's a different course by Acceleri, although it's taken up by the same exam, that is XAT, Serious Aptitude Test. And then the second or third best would be a test and MDI HR course respectively. Now there are other courses, there are other specializations as well. For example, information management, which is offered in MDI. There's sustainability management that's offered in IIM Lucknow and NITI as well. There's agri-business management that is offered by IIMA, and it's a very niche profile, and you only get that in IIMA across the. It's probably the best in the world because not many colleges provide you this kind of a course. And then new upcoming course, new upcoming what should I say, specialization or programs are for data analytics. There's a lot of need for the data analytics there, who might be knowing machine learning and artificial intelligence and things like these. So they are usually getting the degree or diploma called as postgraduate diploma in business analytics, PGDBA. IMB has this course, and then the most famous for this PGDBA course is this particular group. IIM Calcutta, ISI Kolkata, and IIT KGP. They combiningly provide this PGDBA diploma. Now talking about the campus life, why I am talking about the campus life is because it's very different from the normal engineering college that we have been through. So taking up in very short time, the course usually, not talking about the COVID situation right now, usually it commences in June, and the first week goes in induction and you're dealing with how things happen, your cards, library cards and everything, and then your introduction with the seniors and everything. Then comes the committee selection. There are multiple committees. I'll be taking up in the next slide. And post that, the first 3 months are the most dreaded months for the MBA student, because in those 3 months you have to adjust yourself according to a new timeline in which you will be sleeping probably 4 to 5 or 6 hours per day at max, and then you have to take care, you have to not just study for the academics as well as for the summer placement, which is coming up in September or October. Then after that, the rest of the year is pretty much okay, because you are now post those 3 months, you are usually okay with the timeline, and till May and June, when it comes to May and June, there's your summer internship that happens, which a lot of my juniors have just completed, in which you get that good stipend that might be helping you to finance your MBA or your petty expenses. Post that, in your college, after you reach back, there's an internship review, and also the same thing also happens in your company. In case you have done very good at your summer internship, a lot of companies provide you direct PPOs. In good colleges, about 20 to 30 and even 40% of the people don't sit for the final placement because they get PPO directly from the summer internship itself. So that's why it's pretty important to get a good summer internship first, to get a good money to enjoy your second year. Second, if you do well, you can be placed directly through a BP or PPI in that company. Then this comes in November, December. There's something called as lateral placement, in which the people with experience are placed. Usually, this amount of experience differs for each college, which can sit on this placement. Some college call people who have beyond 15 months of experience for this lateral placement, whereas some colleges ask for 24 months plus. Then in January and February, there is freshers placement, or at some places it's also called final placement, because this is the final time the placement is happening, in which the rest of the folks, whosoever is left, everybody gets placed, and post that in March the course gets over, and the convocation is usually between April to August of that year. So this is how the whole MBA timeline works. And talking about committees and clubs, this is a very niche thing. It's majorly insider info of the MBA. But yeah, it's important to know that these committees and clubs also take up a huge chunk of your MBA life and gives you a head start in networking, in your management, as well as a lot of you who are actually freshers might be wanting to get into these committees and clubs, majorly because they provide you a good CV point and a good experience of how management happens on the floor, like in real life, instead of just posting it about what you did in your BTech. So for the freshers, it's pretty much important to get into some of these committees or clubs because it helps you get your CV beautified, I would say. So I guess this is it. This is from my side. Uh, is there anything Soham or Swadipta would like to share? This is from my side. Thank you.
Yeah, we actually asked for some questions and people have asked some questions.
Okay,
So I'll just take them one by one.
sure.
Somebody, I already answered the
So,
question.
Soham, we had received some questions already yesterday, right? So we can take up those questions pretty quickly and then go to
I
the chat maybe.
okay. I think we already answered most of the stuff that was on there, but let me just open those questions again.
Okay, hold on.
Um,
Soham, I'm opening the questionnaire that we
yeah.
received beforehand so that it's visible on the
Okay.
screen as well. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. We have. Yeah.
Can you see that? Are you able to see this? Hold on. I'm sharing the
Not
screen.
yet.
I'm sharing the screen.
Okay.
Are you able to see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll just tick off the questions which I think has been covered. I covered the preparation strategy. Weightage of topics is there are 34 questions from verbal, 32 from LRDI, and 34 from quants. If you are asking about topics of quant specifically, the weightage is mainly in arithmetic, algebra, geometry, number system in that order. So most important is arithmetic, then algebra, then geometry, then number system, and so on. Right? You will get more of this in one of the links which will be sent to you in the email. Uh, Motivational journey of the scholars. There are lots of motivational journeys. Too long to give out. But again, those also I've included in the material you'll get in the mail. Please do read them.
So I would
I'm
like to
sure
interrupt.
you'll find.
So, guys,
Yeah.
for the motivational journey of the scholars, there's a website called as Inside IIM. There you'll get a lot of motivational stories and journeys of the scholars that are currently studying or probably would be joining this year or probably from previous batches. So that is a website called Inside IIM. You can look out for it. Yes, so please continue.
Yeah. So then you asked when and which coaching to join. So coaching to join a coaching is not 100% necessary. It can provide you a structure. I prepared from Taxila on YouTube, which was free for quants. This year it has become paid. It has its own portal, Taxila. You can search for it, and you can also go for CL night classes or Elite's Grid or any of these things. Really, top few things. They're good. They'll give you a sort of fundamental idea about what you're looking at, how to prepare. But the hard work has to be done by you. As I said repeatedly, you have to do the one or two things thoroughly. You have to do them diligently. You can't be running around doing 3 4 coachings, because personally, from my experience during the JE, we all know that just going to a coaching is not going to help in any way, right? CAT prep strategy during IT. Where the screen sharing stopped.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Yep. Yeah.
Right. So during IT or any job, again, this is something very subjective. You just have to find the time. You will get blogs. I have included blogs for verbal, logical reasoning, and quant in the material that you will get. It is too long to go through right now, and it is very comprehensively written. If you have any doubts about that, we can check it out later. But basically, the time is that you have to be disciplined, and you have to find the time or make the time if you don't have the time, and stick to a schedule for a long period of time consistently, right? Tips for self preparation. All the tips that I gave are for self preparation. I haven't said that you have to prepare from somewhere. Okay. And how advisable is it for a BTech student? It is advisable because most of the people attempting the CAT are BTech students. We are looking for majorly for jobs, better opportunities, for things we like to do. And most of us are in this thing. You'll find lots and lots of people from IIT, NIT, all of these. So it's not that BTech students should not do the thing, right? And specifically, one thing I noticed was somebody had asked a question about biotechnology or food technology from our college, which is one of the rare branches which people don't generally have. I'm addressing that right now. I believe there is a special category for you people, FT people specifically, in IIM Ahmedabad, where it will be easier for you to get an admission because you will get a call at a lower percentile and then you will have to clear the interview. So for me, I didn't get a call even at 99.98 because of my academics. But if you have decent academics, 80, 90 plus, 10 and 12, and you have food technology as your stream, you should take a look at the CAT. If not for the main MBA, even for the agribusiness management at IIM Ahmedabad is stellar and has something to do with your maybe very little, but maybe something to do with your graduation stream. How to build a good profile. Is Shrodipta here to take this?
Just no. Before that, to question number 7, wanted to add that in addition to what Soham said, it also depends on your interest. Now that you have a vague idea of what what marketing is, what operations is, what HR is, what the finance guys do. So now that you have a vague idea, if you think that you have a calling over there, please do go for CAT. Uh, do a little bit of more research. If you feel that this is not your cup of tea, you do not opt for MBA if it is not an area of your interest, if it doesn't interest you, because uh, the world is opening up and it is accepting many fields again. So today people from multiple fields are excelling again. So depending on your interest, you may choose to opt or not opt for an MBA. Yeah. So how to build a good profile for CAT? Well, extracurriculars help. I did a fair bit of extracurricular activities uh, during while I was in Haldia for my undergraduation, and these things did help a lot. Not just from the experience point of view. Yes, you gain a lot of experience in people management, etc., in dealing with companies while you are in sponsorship domain, etc. But it also gives you uh, sort of a sort of pointer to talk about while you are sitting for your interview. It's not that these two have any specified weightage in the composite score, but it shows the dynamics of your personality, the fact that you did not just sit idly while you were in your undergraduation. You opted to take up multiple things and you are an initiative taker. So that's how extracurriculars help. Shift towards MBA, should it be favored? Of course, MBA, I personally believe it's a perennial field and it's an evergreen field. It's going to be there for a long time to come. COVID or no COVID, businesses are going to run, and as long as there are businesses, as long as people are going to make money through products and value additions, they would be needing people to run those businesses, to bring up ideas, to execute those ideas on ground, to 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 what do I say, manage the people in the organization, and therefore you would be needing MBAs. So if the uh, person meant is COVID is going to affect MBA prospects, no, it's not. Question 10, so
Yeah. How to constantly stay motivated? You can't constantly stay motivated. That's the thing. People do have rough times, and you are allowed to have rough times. Sometimes your work will overwhelm you. Sometimes the lack of good scores in the mocks will overwhelm you. You just have to remember that it's not a 1 day game. It's like a very long test match, basically 6, 7 months of preparation, and then again you have to restart it in a different mode for your interviews. You just have to pick yourself up. If you're feeling a little low, do the things that you like doing. I'm sure there's lots of videos online which can tell you how to stay motivated. Again, I'll tell you, go to the links, go to the stories that are there, people who have achieved in the CAT, people who have done it. Again, I don't want to boast about myself, but it is very rare for an individual with a 80, 70, 70 sort of combination of 10th, 12th, and graduation to make it into IMC. I needed a 99.93 plus to get into IMC, even get a call, right? I worked hard, I was regular, I was consistent, and luckily had some good fortune on the day. and I got a 99.98. In 10 years, maybe 15, 20 general engineer male people with 877 profiles go to IIM Calcutta. So it's not impossible. If you just work hard, if you consistently work towards your goals, it's not very difficult, right? What are the questions asked during the interview? So some of the questions I'll just throw them out to you guys so that you can imagine it. And also there are a couple of my interview experiences in the thing which will be sent to you on mail. There are a couple of blogs of my interview transcripts. I'll send them along. So basically, they usually ask you about yourself. You have to talk to them about yourself. That's the opening question in most interviews. So a 1 or 1.5 minute answer where you talk about yourself. Then they can talk about your profile, where you work, the state of the economy, lots of times, current affairs. What's going on. Like I faced questions on NRC and CAA in an interview. I faced questions on the world economy. I faced questions on coronavirus. Right. So all of these are the questions that are asked. There is no set fixed pattern. You're even asked mathematics. Many places you're asked questions about electrical engineering subjects, also core electrical engineering subjects, basics, but they are from your background, right? And you'll see some of them in the interview experiences. The question about the VARC section is, I suppose that if you find it easier to solve or read certain passages, it is better to attempt them before. Same as the logic in LRDI. And you should not shy away from trying out different strategies till they work out for you. Need not be sequential. For me, sequential worked out, but VRC is my strength, and because of that, I was able to do it even sequentially. So it's not necessary for you. Try out whatever strategy works for you, right? Then is joining offline online coaching necessary? No. When to start giving mocks? Start giving them now. First one would be to judge your potential, where you stand and how much you have to grow. Don't take a low mock score as a bad thing. It just means that you have a lot to learn, and because you have a lot to learn, you have a lot to improve as well, right? And given that fact, I think you should start taking mocks at the earliest. Even they've started already. IMS has started already with this mock series. You can start there, or you can join Time. I recommend IMS and Time, the combo, or one of those is fine for a first timer, right? And online, I would definitely say offline coaching is not necessary at all, because in Haldia, if you're going to Calcutta for tuitions and coming back, we've seen that with people who've attempted GATE. It doesn't work out very well. You have very little time for yourself, very little time for your classes, and your grades are important because they will get you shortlists and placements inside B school, as well as they will get you the marks necessary for you to even get into B. So focus on your grades as well. Don't let them slip, and don't think that you have to go to Calcutta to crack the CAT for coaching. Right? I think the next question is for you guys.
Yeah.
Cool. So, what is the probability of getting a good job after an MBA? Well, depends what you call a good job. What according to you is a good job. So, uh, for many people, working in a certain specified sector is a good job. For many people, good salary is a good job. Well, so as far as salary is concerned, yes, you know, 80-90% of the people receive high salary, and the rest 10% receive significantly higher than they would have done after their B.Tech from a normal college. Uh, say more than 10 lakhs, 12 lakhs of LPA would be the CTC. Avinash,
Yeah,
would you like to add?
so first thing that I figured out after I entered the B school was everything gets reset. Like whatever your CAT marks was doesn't matter much after you get inside. For your placements, a lot of weightage for the summer placements is given for your 10th, 12th, and grad marks. But post that in the final placements, which actually matters, your college marks as well as whatever you have performed throughout the MBA and how you take up the interview, that matters a lot. So there's a very high probability. There are things that you would get to know after you get inside the MBA in the college, so that I won't be taking it up. But I just want to tell you that I haven't been that good of a student. My profile is 987. Didn't score that much in CAT. Was decent and normal. But I got a raise from my previous job to current job of about 6 times. So yeah, that kind of, so that good job definition for me has been okay for me, and currently I'm in a good job. So yeah, it doesn't matter much. It's just that there's a lot of opportunities over there. Even if you don't have good marks, a lot of my friends have got good jobs through the case studies, as I told you before. Even I've got the job that I currently have through a case study competition. So yeah, that's a good way to summarize that there's a very high probability given you take up the necessary opportunities correctly. But yeah, the next question.
And also your interest comes into play over here. So for example, if you have an interest in operations, you want a job in operations, you cannot be expecting that in say colleges like I'm Kozhikode or MDI. Whereas if you want a say uh, marketing job, the number of marketing companies, the number of marketing roles that would be offered in NITI would be subsequently lesser than that of MDI or I'm Kozhikode. Say it depends on what your how wisely you choose your college based on your area of interest.
True that.
Which stream in MBA should be preferred in the post-COVID world or in terms of a good monetary income? Well, again, uh,
Anything. I think it's anything. Everything is okay.
yes, all the streams of MBA are going to do good, but again, do not run after money. Supposedly, just I'm saying, if finance jobs are more, paying than that of a marketing job, do not go into finance even if you do not have that confidence to get into finance. You will end up doing something that you do not find interest in. And but having said that, all the streams are going to do good in post-COVID scenarios, including HR.
Yeah, one thing I would
Tips
like to
on enhancing verbal and English vocab.
yeah, one thing I'd like to add
Uh,
on this. Uh, that's
Yeah.
just one thing that COVID hasn't actually taken up a lot. It's just that the situation is everything has stopped. The moment it gets back on knees, it'll start working as well. And there's not much. It's not similar to what recession has been. So things are going to come back very quickly. That's my own thinking, my own take on this. So it's probably for me, it's the best time to get into a B school, because the time you'd be getting out of B school, say 2022, just like Soham, or 2023 for the next year people, it would be a very good time to get into industry, because the whole industry would be in a growing phase and you'll be getting very good salaries and in monetary terms. So yeah, it's very, anything you can take up, not a big deal. Yeah, Soham, please, next question.
yeah. So to enhance verbal and English vocab, basically the oldest trick in the book is you can read the newspaper, read the editorial section, whatever new word you find, write it down somewhere in a copy, maintain it, try to use it. I know that we are addressing HIT, so this might sound very tough to you because maybe your friends will not support it, maybe they'll not deal with you that way, but you have to do it for yourself. Read good books. There'll be a reading recommendation list as well in the thing that you get. Read good books, and it'll be very tough initially, but sit with a dictionary if need be, and that will enhance your vocab in English. There is no shortcut. There is no fast method, no sure method. You have to do the hard work, and that is what is needed. I think the next question is also marked for me, so I'll take it. How hard is it for a general engineering male to score more than 97 percentile with a full-time job? So I scored 97.5 with when I was in college, and I scored 98.96 when I spent most of my time at training in Infosys in Mysore, and with a full-time proper responsibility wala job, I scored 99.9. So it depends on how hard you work, how disciplined you are, and how much time you manage to eke out from your schedule. Some jobs which are maybe 13 14 hours a day, maybe it's going to be tough for you, but 97 percentile is definitely achievable, because it's just around 97 would be around 140 marks in the cat out of 300. So you can do that, three sections combined, work well on your two sections, maybe get 100 in two sections alone like LRDI and QA, and then even a decent 40-50 mark outing in VRC will take you much much higher than 97. Don't aim for 97, because for a general engineering male, 97 percentile will get you basically nothing, and that is the harsh reality that we are living in. um, and you have to aim higher. You should aim at least 98, 98.5 plus, and that might get to say IIT KGP, IIT Bombay, might get you MDI with a good interview. So aim higher, and it's not very difficult. 97 is definitely not too difficult for you. And also for the females, general engineering females will start getting calls from Kozhikode and Indore with decent marks, even at 95, 96, and you have a decent shot at 97, 98 also. But for you as well, because we want you to outdo us, all of us, we hope that Shurudipta, Avinash Bhaiya, and me, we hope that you do even better than us. So I would like you to target as high as possible. Score a 99.5, 99.7, and the females can even go to Ahmedabad and Bangalore with decent academics. And we hope that for you. So don't look at 96. Now coming to completion, food technology. Yeah. This so I took this earlier. Food technology has some special mention in Ahmedabad's program as a different category, which is separate from engineers, and it has a special preference even in the food agribusiness management, which is also in Ahmedabad. And an agribusiness management course is also available at Lucknow, which you might find interesting. You should take a look at what they teach, and if you find an interest, definitely go for it. It'll be easier for you to go there and do your thing, and getting in is also easier. I think the next question is also addressed to me: how to take advantage from Pagal Guy. So Pagal Guy is a website which is like a social. It's like Facebook for cat aspirants. I used it that way, and you post your scores on various threads and compete with your peers, learn from them, take tips from them. You if you somebody is scoring very well in quants, you can message them directly and ask ki, hey man, what are you following, how are you doing this, can I get some tips? And people usually help out. They're very, very helpful there. If you don't if you're not too annoying, most of the people will help you out, and it helps you keep track of how you are doing versus the competition. So many serious applicants for the CAT will be there on Pagal Guy. I personally know 400 percentilers who were there on Pagal Guy and posting their score regularly. So if you look up at these people and see how far you are from them, if you take it in the right way, you will work hard to close down the gap, and that will help you long term. Okay. So that's how you take advantage of Pagal Guy. Use it instead of being on Facebook all day. There are threads for doubt discussions. There are threads for quants, for LRDI, for mock scores, right? And you'll find lots of people on there who will help you. There's a little bit of comedy also to take a break from the tough times, which you will know when you join Pagal Guy. And I think this next question would be for Shuradeep.
Would like to know about STEM MBA, CFA, data analyst plus PGDM.
Shraddip,
I do not know what.
this question was asked in the YouTube chat box.
Okay. Well, I do not know what STEM MBA is, but having said that, many MBA grads do come from STEM background. It is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. CFA. Well, we in our college we did have many students who were CFA level 1, level 2, and even level 3 qualified guys. There were people who had completed CFA level 3, CA, chartered accountancy, company secretary, etc., and then they came to do MBA in finance, etc. So it's very common. It's not uncommon, and therefore, if you have an knack for CFA, you can chart out your career path properly, and you can do a CFA and thereafter an MBA if you want a corporate career. Data analyst, we talked about it. PGDBA right now is perhaps the best in town for for MBA in business analysis. Well, data analyst, I'm not an expert, but you know, there are no raw coding in there as per I know, but perhaps the course is more related to the practical applications and the usage of the methodologies, if I'm not wrong. But I'm not an expert on this. I won't be able to speak. I guess I see there are last one or two questions in the chat. I'll take it up. Okay. How to take up from how to take help from people in top B schools for your startup. Uh, at MDI, we did have a couple of students in our senior batches as well as in our current batch. In our batch, who had some sort of startup experiences, who had started things before, and were in process of continuing the startup while at college. But having said that, at MBA school, at B schools, there are incubation centers, there are entrepreneurship cells. There you receive guidance from various startup founders on a day-to-day basis about your startup, etc. That's how the whole environment comes down to help you out. You also have professors who are more often than not could turn out to be an angel investor. You know, in our college, there were professors who had invested in, who had identified some good startups in their early phases and invested in them. A couple of them, one of them I remember has been bought out by Make My Trip. Again, people from our college started companies like, you might have heard about them, this Instamojo, Business World. Uh, there's this, what is this fruit juice company which
Real
positions on memory?
memory, real
Uh,
we
no,
we
I got it. The packaging is very good.
Yeah,
Boat something, my boat, some
Paperboat,
oh
Paperboat.
paper
okay,
boat. Yeah.
paper
Uh,
boat.
Paperboat. There are many other companies. You can Google it out, which have come out of B schools. So yes, it could be a very conducive environment for you.
I don't see any more questions. Uh, so I think that's about it. This has gone on for much more than we planned.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for the people watching if we bored you. Not our plan anyway, but just trying to be thorough. And we hope you enjoyed it. And I personally would like very much to see some HITians coming up behind me at IMC, at MDI. Maybe some of you going to IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore in the future, and scoring well in the CAT. Uh, we've done our we've done our bit. Hopefully it's helpful to you, and you know that people have done it before, so you yourself can do it. People have done it from where you are, so you can also do it. That's what I'd like to say as my finishing comments.
From my part, I think what I would like to tell you guys is basically a lot of us have, like the HITians have come to an NEETI. Almost last 3 years, there have been a string of people who have constantly been coming to NEETI from HIT. Even this year, there's one person going to NEETI from HIT. So I'd like to keep that connect going. Search it online, and you'll find some people from NEETI who are going to some people from HIT going to NEETI every year. So keep that connect going, keep that line going. It keeps people motivated and gives you a good network to initially start with. Start with your days inside the college, and it helps you a lot by having that common connection. You'll understand the strength of having being from same colleges or having some common point with your seniors when you get inside the B school for your committee selections, for any kind of help you need. There's a lot of things required. So you'll get to know that later on. But for now, yes, I'd like you guys to reach the heights beyond what we have reached, and that would be the ultimate happiness for us to see you guys doing good. And Aditya, any comments?
Yeah. So a closing comment from my side would be that this was a small initiative from our side to give back to our alma mater. While we were in HIT, first of all, we did not have a 3G net back then. We used to survive on 2G, and we did not have any such precedents to look up to that we knew of. Uh, for some reason or the other, there could have been people who were in IIMs before us, but somehow or the other, we were not in touch with them, and therefore it was hard for us to get some kind of unbiased and clear opinion. So you go to coaching centers, etc. They give a very biased opinion, and therefore we thought this could be a good platform for us to give a very unbiased opinion and an open opinion to you all. Hope it helped.
Thank you guys. I think this is where we end.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot,
Thank you for
everybody.
joining.
Thank
Thank
you,
you for
everyone.
coming.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.